Welcome back to Euro Football Daily. A few months back we ran down the 10 best academies in European football. So today we're looking at another 10 which don't get as much recognition but are well worth keeping an eye on. Let's go. 10. Espanyol. FC Barcelona may house the most well-renowned academy in the world, but down the road, Espanyol have produced some notable talents in recent years too. And this is all the more impressive considering the obstacles presented by your local rivals being one of the planet's biggest footballing entities. As you'd expect, this also means the club has seen a lot of its pupils swallowed up by their more successful neighbours. Marc Bartra, Oriol Romeu and Carles Perez are just a few players who were originally nurtured by Espanyol before moving on to La Masia, while Cristian Tello made it to the club's B team before transferring to the Blaugrana. Meanwhile, Gerard Moreno, who left the Periquitos Academy at 15, returned 8 years later for a 3-season spell in which he played some of the best football of his career. Players to have graduated from the Espanyol Cantera include Eric Bailly and Pau Lopez, as well as key members of the current squad like Marc Roca and Sergi Darder. And the club hasn't limited its activities to Catalonia either, setting up academies in Shanghai, New Jersey and Algiers, and even opened a facility in Baghdad in 2018, becoming the first foreign club to establish an academy in Iraq. They may have recently suffered their first relegation in nearly 30 years, but fans of Espanyol should nevertheless be hopeful for the future. 9. Charlton Athletic. South London has become a hotbed for English footballing talent in the last few years, with Ruben Loftus-Cheek born in Lewisham, Jadon Sancho growing up in Kennington, and Callum Hudson-Odoi spending his formative years in Wandsworth. And while a lot of promising players in the English capital get hoovered up by Arsenal or Chelsea, and in Sancho's case Man City, smaller clubs south of the Thames have also played a big role in developing London's youngsters, in particular Charlton Athletic. During the 90s and 2000s, notable graduates included Scott Parker and John Joe Shelvey, with both going on to become key players at multiple Premier League clubs. And more recently, the Addicts have produced Joe Gomez, who is now a European and Premier League champion with Liverpool, Esri Konsa, who continued his development at Brentford before moving to Aston Villa, and Ademola Lookman, who was signed by RB Leipzig in 2019. With a huge team of staff including psychologists and performance analysts, and with a philosophy based around possession football, quick transitions and high pressing, it's no wonder the Charlton Academy continues to produce such good players, despite the club's Premier League heyday being firmly in the past. In 2018-19, they had 7 alumni playing in the English top flight, more than Arsenal and Liverpool. Before we reveal our next underrated academy, just a quick reminder to subscribe to Euro Football Daily and hit that notification bell so you never miss a great video like this one. We put out content like this every single day, so you really don't want to miss out. 8. Sporting Club de Braga. Portuguese clubs have gained a reputation over the years for nurturing some of the world's top talents before selling them on at a big profit to Europe's elite outfits. And while Porto, Benfica and Sporting Club are the most prolific producers of such talents, Braga have done some pretty impressive work themselves in recent seasons. The perennial best of the rest in the Liga NOS, Braga can't compete with the finances or prestige of the big three in Portugal, and their improving academy is already reaping rewards. The club has built a state-of-the-art academy facility in the last 2 years, and recent graduates include Pedro Neto, who made his senior debut at just 17 and is now impressing at Wolves. The 2019-20 campaign also saw the emergence of wide forward Francisco Trincao, who has lit up the Estadio Municipal, contributing to a goal every 107 minutes. The 20-year-old has also landed the club its biggest ever windfall, signing with Barcelona for €31 million. If Braga can continue producing players of his quality, they could catch up with Portugal's elite sooner rather than later. 7. Mainz. The club where Jurgen Klopp and Thomas Tuchel both earned their coaching stripes, Mainz has already earned its reputation as a springboard for managerial greatness. And while Bayern Munich and Schalke possess Germany's most well-regarded academies, and RB Leipzig have the pick of the talent coming out of Salzburg, Die Nullfünfer are also producing Bundesliga-ready professionals at a higher rate than most. In fact, in 2019-20, a third of the Mainz senior squad was made up by the club's academy graduates, a higher proportion than any other side in the German top flight. Of those, Ridal Baku has been the most prominent, racking up the third most minutes in the squad this term and playing in a number of different positions. Naturally a box-to-box midfielder, his engine, dribbling ability and defensive know-how have also made the 22-year-old a hit at right back. Meanwhile, other graduates who are yet to hold down a regular starting position but are also highly rated include goalkeeper Florian Müller, midfielder Leandro Barreiro and teenage playmaker Erkan Ayabil, who has been likened to Mesut Ozil. Mainz graduates have gone on to achieve elsewhere too, notably Andre Schürrle, who won the DFB Pokal with Wolfsburg and Dortmund, as well as the Premier League with Chelsea. Meanwhile, Suat Serdar, who was sold to Schalke in 2018, is now one of the Bully's most recognised young midfielders and has won 3 caps for Germany. 6. Celta Vigo. Like Mainz, Celta Vigo also had a third of their squad come from the academy in 2019-20, with only Athletic Bilbao and Man United posting a higher percentage in Europe's top 5 leagues. And what's more, these players make up a hefty chunk of the club's regular starters. Iago Aspas is the greatest advert for the Celta academy, making nearly 350 appearances and scoring over 150 goals for the club across 2 spells since graduating in 2006, and was La Liga's top scoring Spaniard for 3 consecutive seasons between 2017 and 2019. Partnering him up top is Santi Mina, who was snapped up by Valencia as a teenager and returned to the club in 2019 after a 4-year spell at the Mestalla. And another player who came back to the club last year was Denis Suarez, who left for Man City at 18 and has turned out for a number of La Liga sides since. One club men, Ruben Blanco and Hugo Mayo, make up the rest of the side's homegrown regulars, meaning that of the 11 Celta players with the most minutes played in 1920, nearly half are academy alumni. Meanwhile, their export record is decent too, with both Joselu and Rodrigo Moreno coming through their ranks before moving to Real Madrid at the end of the 2000s, and Johnny Otto leaving in 2018 to find success in the Premier League. And their future is also looking good, with a number of academies set up internationally and an estimated 2,400 pupils attending their camps across the world, from Romania to Peru. 5. Genk. Not among the classic big clubs in Belgium, Genk's history pales in comparison to Anderlecht Club Brugge and Standard Liège. In fact, they were only founded in their current form in 1988. Considering this, the fact their academy has produced some of the best players to come out of the country in recent years is all the more impressive. Fully established in 2003, the Genk Academy has experienced amazing results in a short amount of time. Just 2 years later, they poached Kevin De Bruyne from rivals Ghent, handing the midfielder his first senior appearance before his 18th birthday. In 2010-11, he helped the club win its 3rd league title alongside Thibaut Courtois, who had also graduated from the club's youth setup. Other future stars to be developed by Genk during this time included Christian Benteke, Leandro Trossard and Timothy Castagne, while Wilfred Ndidi and Leon Bailey were later both signed as teenagers before being quickly thrust into the first team. From relative obscurity, Genk has become one of Europe's top breeding grounds for young players. 4. Stade Rennais. One of the more historically successful academies on this list, Stade Rennais has produced a number of top players over the last 30 years. In 1987, the club established the Odorico Private Technical School under the guidance of director Patrick Rompillon, and within a decade had seen Mikhail Silvestre and Sylvain Wiltord graduate, with the pair racking up nearly 150 caps for France between them. Since then, the French outfit has produced countless players who have gone on to achieve at bigger clubs, from Johan Gourcuff, who won the Champions League in its first season at Milan before firing Bordeaux to the Ligue 1 crown, to Yassine Brahimi, who lit up the Liga NOS with Porto, making over 200 appearances for the Portuguese Giants. More recently, they have spawned Tiémoué Bakayoko and of course Ousmane Dembele, who they sold to Borussia Dortmund as a 19-year-old in 2016 and subsequently picked up a hefty chunk of the 125 million euros Barcelona paid for him a year later. And now the jewel in their crown is of course Eduardo Camavinga. Still only 17 years old, the midfielder has been a revelation in Ligue 1, racking up over 2,000 minutes in 2019-20 and attracting interest from Real Madrid. 3. Dinamo Zagreb. Like Rennes, who won awards for their player development during the 2000s, it's maybe a stretch to call the Dinamo Zagreb Academy underrated. But despite the sheer scale of talent they've produced in the last 20 years, they still aren't as widely recognised for their youth production in the way Ajax or Barcelona are. The club's academy, founded in 1967, is now one of the most successful in Europe, attracting some of the continent's best coaches and boasting 10 different teams, from the under-8s to the under-19s. Taking inspiration from La Masia, the Zagreb Academy favours a holistic approach, raising its youngsters to be well-rounded individuals who are as committed to their education and health as they are to their football. This perhaps explains why a player like Dani Olmo found it easy to switch between Barca and Dinamo when he was just 16. And their list of graduates is astonishing, with Luka Modric, Dejan Lovren, Mario Mandzukic, Mateo Kovacic and Marcelo Brozovic just a few of their success stories. In 2018, as Croatia reached the World Cup final, it was revealed that 14 of their squad had come through the Zagreb Academy, setting a new record for a national side in the prestigious tournament. And that same year, a study found that 67 of the club's alumni were playing in a top European division, a figure which ranked them second to Ajax in this regard. It's fair to say the production line in Zagreb isn't slowing down anytime soon. 2. FC Metz. French outfit Metz have never won the league, despite coming close in 1998, and haven't won any silverware in nearly 25 years. But they have provided plenty of top clubs with players which have made the difference at the highest level. In the 1990s, they brought through Robert Pires, who was their key player for a number of years before going on to achieve greatness at Arsenal, as well as Louis Saha, who would also make a name for himself in the Premier League. The following decade, they repeated the trick with Emmanuel Adebayor, and in 2003 teamed up with the Generation Foot Academy in Senegal, who granted Metz exclusive access to players in exchange for their role in developing their facilities in Dakar. From this arrangement came Papi Cissé, Diafra Sakho and Sadio Mane, who was bought by Red Bull Salzburg for €4 million just 6 months after making his professional debut in the French second tier. And it doesn't stop there. Miralem Pjanic is also a Metz graduate, crossing the border from Luxembourg aged 14 to join the academy, and impressed so much as a teenager he was bought by Lyon as the long-term replacement for Juninho just 4 years later. And then there is Kalidou Koulibaly, who broke into the first team at 19 and 10 years down the line is one of Europe's most coveted defenders. 1. FC Groningen. As we've already mentioned, Ajax have built a reputation as one of the very best talent producers in European football, and Eredivisie rivals PSV and Feyenoord also have internationally admired academy projects to go with their large trophy cabinets. However, FC Groningen, who won their first piece of major silverware in 2015, 100 years after they were founded, must also take some credit for their part in developing talent in the Netherlands. During the 60s and 70s, the club spent time in the Dutch second tier and came close to bankruptcy, but saw a major breakthrough after establishing an academy in 1975. Over the next few years, they developed a homegrown side which would become a fixture in the top flight, starring a certain Ronald Koeman, who made his professional debut at just 17 and by 20 had earned himself a move to Ajax, having scored 35 goals in 98 appearances from centre-back. 16 years after the emergence of Koeman, local lad Arjen Robben joined the academy and made his first Eredivisie start aged just 16, quickly becoming a first-team regular and eventually being bought by PSV 2 years later. The now legendary winger helped open Groningen's new academy facilities in 2017 and came out of retirement to rejoin the club in 2020. Other success stories include Virgil van Dijk, who was enrolled after being let go by Willem II as a teenager, and the club has also developed a knack for recognising top talent from overseas, picking up Luis Suarez from Uruguayan giant Club Nacional when he was 19. It's amazing to think how these generational talents came from such a seemingly humble institution. So those were our top 10 underrated academies, but can you name any more? Let us know in the comments below, and who knows, maybe we'll do a part 2. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave it a like, and why not click on screen right now, as I'm sure it's another banger. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.